They say my sisters are violent. Let's see where they get that from. You know what? It's got to be from those reality TV shows that you see. Yeah, it's got to come from those reality TV shows you see. You see all these folks fighting over these men and doing all this crazy stuff, arguing with each other at tables and throwing things. Yeah, it's got to be that. Maybe it could be some of those videos that you watch that they upload on these platforms and you see sisters fighting. Nah. Maybe it's that you went into a store and all of a sudden, sister's face looks a little screwed up. Maybe she's not smiling. Or maybe in that same situation, maybe there's a little bit of an argument that occurs with the store clerk or something. You start hearing the sister start arguing and you're like, oh, those women are violent. They're extremely violent. It's funny. It's funny that folks get this second, third hand types of point of views. They've never really experienced fully being around my sisters. But whatever they see that's projected somewhere, all of a sudden that dictates their opinion of what they believe about my sisters. Never been around them like that. But you either saw something or someone either told you something or you had a brief encounter with a sister and you all of a sudden formulated this stereotype, this opinion. Now, most of it is the stereotypes because you automatically have heard or seen things on the news and how they, place those images out there. And they've been doing that for decades. They've been doing it for a long period of time. And you all of a sudden equate the fact that, hey, they are violent. This segment of the population, they're violent. And so we know that in every culture, there's ignorant folks. In those same reality shows that you're talking about, they pick those people. They select them specifically. They select the ones who are going to drum up that drama. They're going to be perfect for the ratings. They do that specifically. So you have that. So you're going to get the most ignorant folks. They're not picking the most docile, the calmest individuals out there. No. So what do you think that folks are doing when they project images on the news? The images on the news that you see, that's to give you that confirmation that, oh, those folks you need to stay away from. On the social media platforms, they're trying to generate views to get money. And what do? You go find something that's triggering. You go find something that stokes, that sticks at the heart of the fear. It's funny because the folks, there's these folks that come on my page and I'm putting out my titles. And what those folks are doing is they're trying to come to my video because they're trying to get some kind of confirmation bias. They're trying to confirm what they think that they believe. Or not even what they think they believe, what they believe. And they come on my page and they're like, yeah, let me press this because I'm going to get all the ammunition. I'm going to get all the meat that I need so I can debate somebody when they tell me something about black women. I'm going to tell you what this guy just said. And you click on my page and all of a sudden your face gets cracked because you're like, wait a minute. Hold on. This cat ain't talking like these other knuckleheads, these other brothers, these other cultures are talking about black women. This brother's saying something positive. Nah, that can't be. You can't be talking positive about black women. That's not what I believe. And then they want to make a little comment in my section talking some nonsense of what's supposed to contradict what I said. Man, I've been around my women my whole entire life. I'm from New York. I'm from one of the boroughs, New York City, from one of the boroughs. Born and raised, been around predominantly black schools my whole entire life, black neighborhoods my whole entire life. And yes, you have your fair share of fights and fair share of things that have helped me, that have scarred me, that have shaped and molded me. Yes, but I'll never take it back. But if it was so much that my women were so violent, I would never be sitting up here producing any type of video or videos talking about all these stereotypes that people lay on my sisters. I would never be producing that. I would be just like the rest of those dudes. It's so easy because I'm not getting views like the rest of these dudes who sit up here and start talking all this nonsense about my sisters. These folks that have these channels that are dedicated to denigrate my sisters. I could jump right in the same pile, but I'm not doing that. Why? Because that stuff is not my truth. That's them trying to make money because they know what's going to make them money. But my sisters are not innately violent. They don't just wake up in the morning and be like, hey, you know what? I want to sit up here. I want to fight. I just want to fight just to be fighting. Like the UFC UFC fighter. Some of them cats, they're in the UFC because they were like that when they were younger. They woke up and they wanted to be violent. They had that anger. And now they fit just right in the UFC sport. My sisters don't wake up just like that. When you see these encounters, it's context around it. When you see these fights, these arguments, whatever you want to consider violent, there's context around it. There's something that occurred of why that person responded that way. Can my sisters work on better conflict resolution? Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's with everybody. There's a time and place for certain things. There's a certain way that you handle disagreements or triggering things. But sometimes what happens is it gets to the next level, and that shouldn't happen. And I'm never condoning that. But don't think that there's not context with that. Some of these fights and things that you see are women with relationships with guys. They fighting over a guy. They ain't even fighting over really nothing that is any substance. They're fighting over a guy. Or they got some type of issue with this particular person that they've been dealing with. Maybe it's some gossip stuff. Somebody said something about some other person's family member, or they said something about somebody's kid, or, you did something to a friend of mine, or there's a whole bunch of different things that occur. Again, that's conflict resolution. That part is something that some of my sisters have to work on and do a better job with. I'm never going to say that. But there's another thing that people skip over, and they totally don't even put two and two together. They don't make the correlation. Part of that is we know absolutely, without a doubt, that in the black community, there is a nutritional deficiency that's there. Nutritional deficiency that's there. Our folks are eating a whole lot of bad food. Whole lot of bad food. That's why you have the high blood pressures and the diabetes. Those are the things that affect black folks the most, predominantly. And so when you look at that, and you look at the fact that if you're eating a whole bunch of salt, you're increasing these stress hormones, and then the salt is causing you to be thirsty, and then you're becoming thirsty, and then what do? You go drink some sodas, some juices, which are full of sugar. And sugar, what does that do? It fluctuates your blood sugar levels. So you have these peaks and valleys where you're feeling this constant adjustment of your mood. You're getting irritable when you're down here. You eat a little bit of food, you spike up, and it increases your alertness just for a little bit. And then it comes back crashing down and you get irritated again. And then, because you're drinking all these sugar drinks and all this stuff, activating all this stress in your body, then you're not drinking water, not hydrating yourself with water. Our body is 70% water. So you become dehydrated and you're fighting all of these things as far as what's affecting your body and how your body is working. These are things that are variables that we just don't consider as a factor of when people leave their house and they're not feeling their best and they come out into this world. And you think that they may not have things that may trigger them if they're irritable. Plus, on top of with my sisters, they got cycles to deal with. They got all of the other worldly stuff that comes on top of them. And so some of the ones who can't deal with conflict or can't deal with being able to have a response that's a little bit docile, some of them are going to erupt. They're going to have a situation that maybe triggers them. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see that other side to them. But that's no different from what you see with this road rage stuff that's out there, right? You got all kind of cultures that are out there road raging it. Get out on the streets, get out on these expressways, and they're having all kind of contact with folks, shooting up folks, getting out their cars, fighting and all this other stuff. Funny thing is, I don't see a lot of sisters doing that. I see a lot of other cultures doing that. But the thing is that I don't see a lot of people saying, hey, those other cultures are violent. I don't see other folks talking about these school shooters that they're violent when they're predominantly one race or somebody bombing up stuff. I don't see that. I see it when it comes down to speaking about my sisters. All of a sudden they get grouped into it. And again, part of that is just the fact that you got a lot of folks that are getting second, third hand experiences or speaking on that point of view, not speaking on what they've actually encountered themselves. And even if they have encountered it, they encountered a little bit of it, because once they start to see the little signals, the little signs that they think that are going to confirm that there's going to be some violence that takes place, oh, they retreat. They take that fear and they're like, you know what? Hey, something's going to happen. So their anxiety starts ramping up and they're like, man, let me get ready to go. You don't even know what happened, what occurred after that. You got ready to leave. You have that fear. That's your own fear. Just like when brothers walk around and, you got that thing where you're out in the parking lot and all of a sudden people from other cultures, they see you walking close to them or in the direction, and then they get in their car real quick and they lock those doors. Or when they're leaving their car, they boop, 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 hitting the alarm 8 million times to make sure that their doors are locked. What do you think that is? That's because you automatically have some kind of fear of what you've seen. You never experienced it, but you've seen certain things. And you automatically equate that and say that that person that you see is going to commit that particular act. Same thing that happens with my sisters. And if you actually came in contact with my sisters are super nurturing. Super nurturing. Despite what folks want to say as far as, the men have the issues of, oh, women they're too much of a feminist now. Whatever. But sisters are nurturing, very compassionate, very considerate, very kind, too trusting. Our own folks are too trusting. That's why we have folks that take advantage of us from these other cultures. Way too trusting. We forgive way too many people, way too many times, and we still associate ourselves with them. So to label my sisters as being violent, I absolutely, totally disagree with that. Whatever stats you may have, you need to be in the company of our sisters. And you'll see there's a bigger difference. You'll see that you won't experience what you think that you're going to experience. These women will teach you a whole lot of things. Whole lot of cultural things. They embrace all these other cultures. You see that on television all the time. They embrace all these cultures, teaching them about our culture, bringing them into the foods, into the fashion, into the dancing, the styles. Our women embrace that. All these other cultures, they tend to be like, no, we want to keep it pure. It's another subject. But anyway, my sisters aren't violent. They don't wake up and they're not trying to scorch the world. They've got to live in a difficult world, and there are things that are always against them, and they've got to navigate around that. And they've got to work on some things. But stop looking at these videos and stuff and actually start talking to them before you come up with that perception. And they're going to handle things differently. They're going to have a different kind of attitude. They're not going to sit up here and be maybe jumping around happy-go-lucky and smiling and all this other stuff, because their life is a little bit different. There's some things that, sisters are not privy to. They're not born into this life of having all that you need and all the things that you want, and not having to deal with many stresses. They're not born into that stuff. So there's going to be some challenges, and they're going to respond accordingly. On that note, I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace out.